Hello, everyone. Welcome to Referral Mastery with Jay Abraham. I'm Joseph Rodriguez, your host today. And this session is going to be all about Jay setting the stage for this program. And over the next few sessions, we're going to be rolling up our sleeves and Jay's going to be diving deeper into the process. So he's going to cover what he is going to look at, what you're doing right now in your business. And we're going to roll up our sleeves a bit, figure out what's working, what's not working. And this process is going to be very dynamic. And I'm going to bring Jay on right now, and he's going to reveal it to you.
Wow. Hi, everybody. Joseph, good. So, tonight we're going to be like a bullet train leaving the tracks. And if you've ever gone, they have them in Asia. I think Shanghai has one. Obviously, Japan has maybe one or more. And they go slow, and then they build. I don't want to go fast tonight. And the reason I don't is threefold. Number one, this is very truthfully the first time of any consequence in 20 years that I've revisited the subject, which is exciting. You know, I've done little poofs here and there, but I've never had to think deeply. And so you're going to get what is going to be a very deep, reflective, somewhat spontaneous, structured, but very, very a very authentic output from me. But I want to set the stage. One of the things that I've found over my career is that in our lives we take for granted so many generic things that we don't really think about the magnitude or the importance or the impact or the dynamism of something. And tonight I want to do a couple things. I like very much, by the way, anybody who's ever been involved with me in any kind of a live event, I like to let you in on the method to my madness. I have enough respect for your intelligence that I want you to know what I'm planning on doing, how I'm planning on doing it, what outcome I am hoping it does, and then, very candidly, the fact that I reserve the right to change it at will. My goal is to, over the course of 4 evenings, afternoons, wherever it is, mornings if you're, in Asia or Australia, is to provide you with at least 3 to 5 viable, profitable, sustainable referral generating strategies and systems that you and your business can add to whatever you do so that your business will bring in, first of all, a blend of a higher quality, a higher consistency of buyer, client, patient, whatever it is, so that it will increase the profit mix because the majority of the referral generating opportunities either cost you nothing, or if you have to pay, if you are legally allowed, they're paid on results, so they're directly correlated to revenue. And hopefully we will transform your thinking into a well-oiled referral generating machine. So please bear with me tonight. As I said, I have free-formed on this off and on over 20 years. 20 years ago, I introduced this because it became clearly aware in my mind that so few people really grasp the magnitude and the opportunity in referral generation as very systematic and continuously adhered to revenue generating applications in their business. And so tonight, bear with me because I've got thoughts I want to very, very heartfelt convey. So, okay, we're going to go through the anatomy of a referral-generated client over an externally marketing or advertising or promotional or cold social media-generated client. So I've done this often. Many of you may have heard of it. So I ask groups when I do keynotes, seminars, how many people in that group can honestly say that 10 to 100% of their business emanates from referrals. And a very large portion, usually as much as half, raise their hand. I ask them to stand. I ask them to calculate both percentage as well as dollars that it represents annually. And it doesn't really matter the size or scope of the business. It's quite profound. It can be 50%, $5 million, 80%, 250,000. It doesn't really matter. It's significant. Then I ask people to remain standing if they have at least one formal, systematic, continuously adhered to throughout the entire organization referral generating strategy that they follow. And almost everybody sits down. Then I say 2, and 90% of the remainder sit down. And I say 3, and maybe 1 is remaining standing. And it saddens me. And then I ask everyone who stood originally to tell me if they spend money, time, effort, opportunity cost on advertising, promotion, PR, trade show exhibits, anything else designed to bring in new business. And almost all of them raise their hand. And then I ask them and tell them what's wrong with this picture. Because I say, to me, and you may disagree, but an externally cold generated prospective buyer is first level of trust building. My point is that an externally generated prospective buyer is the outer periphery of trust building. So back to my explanation. So a cold externally generated buyer is first outer periphery of trust. He or she normally they don't know you. They don't have certainty about you. They're going to investigate. They're going to explore. They're going to be comparing. There's confusing and differing documentation, but some people say it takes 9 contacts, some take 17. Whatever it is, they're not going to buy right away unless it's an anomaly. And it's going to be hard-won transaction that is not necessarily loyal, bonded, sustainable. It's still apprehensive. The difference between an externally generated, low trust prospective buyer that takes many different layers and levels and segments and processional elements to get to closure, and a referral-generated buyer is profound. A referral-generated buyer, number 1, buys almost immediately. Number 2 is already aware of the majority of the implications, the elements of how you do business, your pricing, your methodology, everything about it. He or she is ready to buy relatively immediately. They don't negotiate very much or at all. They buy more. They buy more often. They are much more loyal because they came from somebody who was loyal. And that loyalty through osmosis and recommendation transferred. They are more enjoyable to deal with. They buy for longer periods, so their lifetime value is much greater. And you can prove this in almost every analysis you do. They cost you nothing, whereas the others cost you an enormous amount, and they refer more people. So if you look at where to focus a reasonable portion of your time and your resources and your opportunity cost, referral generation makes so much greater sense wherever possible. Now, the key here is to realize that if you can get a more significant portion, all the way to the total portion of your buyer generation based on referrals, you are going to be more profitable. You are going to make more lifetime value per buyer. You are going to have buyers stay longer. You're going to have buyers who become your very, very robust buyer-generating ultimate machine, and you're going to enjoy the quality of people you produce much, much greater. In the category of product service rendering that you stand for for life, not just for one transaction, but for life, even if you only have one transaction. You want to be the person that gives them the most trusted perspective. You want to be the person that stands for the highest level of contribution. You want to have the company that is committed to give them the greatest outcome, the greatest protection, the greatest benefit, the greatest advantage, the greatest experience, the greatest enjoyment, depending on what you do, the greatest enrichment, depends on what your product or service does for them. You want to have a vision in your mind and in the mind of everybody in your organization that you are on a crusade, a mission in behalf of that client to make sure that they get an outcome that so over exceeds their expectation. I don't care where you're price pointed on the continuum, so that they will basically have the fullest benefit of whatever your product service proposition can deliver. You want, if you know that you care more, that you contribute more, that either your product or service or the people or culture behind it are going to basically provide more, you have a moral obligation, you have a responsibility to not allow people to buy from other competitors who don't provide that, or if your product or service makes such a meaningful impact in their lives, to make sure that they avail themselves of it and don't equivocate, procrastinate, and contemplate. Now, that's part of preeminence. The next part of preeminence is that you want to see in your mind's eye your product or service at work in their business or in their life. It's not a static transaction. If you sell a home, as an example, you're not just seeing you facilitate a buy or a sell. You're seeing that your interaction profoundly impacts their future. You are guiding them, giving them the most trusted advice, not letting them make a mistake, getting them a transformative outcome that for years to come will impact the quality of their life, the joy in their life, the fulfillment, the correlation in their life of what and why they work for, the quality of people they associate with, the value of their wealth asset, the futures of their children, and that is integral to everything you do. You need to basically see yourself, your business, your people as champions and advocates of your marketplace. And this ties totally and fully to the whole concept of referral generation, because if you and your team do not revere the value you represent, the contributions that you create, the joy, the commitment, the conviction you have for your clients, then you cannot expect them to reciprocally have that belief system for you. Again, Joseph, am I clear or am I confusing?
Yes, Jay, that's clear.
Okay, cool. So without that belief system, you can't really maximize, optimize, and master referral generation. So it's very, very integral. And I will ask all of you to study, restudy, and get all your team to study the strategy of preeminence. And it is not a belief system that you alone can live with. It's a belief system that you have to integrate throughout your whole organization. By the way, if you're going to be the most trusted advisor, if you're going to be the only viable choice someone can make, and by the way, I don't care if you sell ice cream through a stand in the middle of the park, or you're selling the most expensive and exquisite technology, you are established to be the most trusted advisor, and you are there to make their lives better off because you were in it. If you believe that, then you have the basis for creating a massive referral generating side of your business. Okay? Now, we talked about conventional advertising versus referral advertising. Now I'm going to get a little bit into the economics of everything, because this is really integral. So, long ago, excuse me one second, when I started my public training and dissemination of knowledge, or of the correlations that I saw about business building, I made a very distinctive observation. The majority of entrepreneurs have no idea of how to allocate marketing resources. They either basically come up with an arbitrary budget that they pull out of thin air that they're going to spend, or they take an arbitrary percentage that has no correlation to the value of the clients they bring in and the lifetime value those clients represent. When you study the different categories, the different sources of buyers, clients, patients that you have, you will find, depending on the kind of business that you operate, that different categories are worth different amounts. Ones that come from certain media are worth a lot less than others. Ones that come from certain marketing approaches for certain products, services, or propositions are worth more than others. If you do not know what different categories of buyers are worth, you cannot allocate the right variability of resources to different categories. This goes to external marketing, but it also goes to reallocation for referral generation. So one of the underpinnings that I'm going to not ask, but admonish you to embrace, is that if you have a marketing allocation, if you advertise, if you do any kind of paid endeavor to generate a buyer, that you start allocating a portion of that and reallocate it to referral generation in many of the different applications that I am going to share with you. I already talked a little bit about the psychology, but the psychology you want is that you want to have the most bonded connection to your buyer base, to your client base. And by the way, I use the word clients. If you're not familiar with my work, and even if you are, let's revisit it. If you're going to be the most trusted advisor, you don't want to call somebody a customer. Why? Look it up on Webster's dictionary. A customer is someone who buys a commodity or a service. It demeans you. It means you have already acknowledged that you are no more valuable than anybody else. And I defy you, if you want to be great, and we can talk about greatness on one of our calls, not today. You can't be a commodity. You have to be proprietary. You have to see your business, your practice, your whatever organization as being superior in what it does, how it does it, why it does it, the commitment you make to your clients, and that belief system has to be integral. A client, Webster's dictionary definition, is somebody who is under the care, the protection, the well-being of another. And that should be the denominator that drives what you do. The premise of preeminence is that most people in business fall in love with the wrong thing. You either fall in love with your industry or profession. You fall in love with your business, wanting to be the best or the fastest growing, and that's admirable. But when you fall in love with the clients you serve, your business will catapult and hurtle to such a higher strata of success, of impact, and of enjoyment, and that will translate in turn to far more financial enrichment, although the psychological and the psychic enrichment is quite profound. So you got to change, or you have to expand your fundamental belief system. And that starts with revering your business, not being arrogant, not being egotistical, but genuinely, absolutely believing that your business is and will always be the most viable solution, the only reasonable choice, the most trusted advisor in whatever category of product, service, denomination you're in, to the target audience that you serve, and that you have a moral obligation to make sure that everyone you serve feels that way, and that everyone who's important, who's valued, who is loved or relevant to your clients needs to be, who is appropriate, needs to be under your care and advisement as well. Not because you want to make all the money in the world, but because you, over everyone else, again, categorically, you may have a target niche, but within that niche, you alone are going to be the best provider of the outcome for that client. Again, Joseph, am I clear?
Yes, Jay, that is very clear.
Okay, cool. All right. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to think about for a few minutes here is, what are the tangible and intangible benefits that your business, your practice provides a client above and beyond the maddening crowd of competition? And I want you to denominate it both tangibly and intangibly. Tangibly means, what things that are real. Can be benefits, can be, extra, you can give them car washes, you can give them whatever, or it can be intangible, the way you guide them, what you do in the process. But I want you to take a few minutes right now to acknowledge that to yourself, because it's going to become integral to what we're going to do. And there's no problem or shame if in doing it today you have trouble finding anything superior. You will have superiority, at least the ability to engineer it, execute it, sustain it by the time we are through this. There's no pride of ego in this process. I want to transfer not just knowledge and wisdom, but the ability to integrate, to own, to actuate, to operate all this for the rest of your business life. I just want to stretch your mind, not just to see the possibilities, but to challenge your own belief system. It's really integral. I've done enough of these kind of, let's call them positive interventions, that I know that hurriedness isn't going to get you the outcome you want. You're just going to get a lot of ideas you do nothing with. I've done enough trainings to know that. So let me interact with you a little bit. So do you really know who your ideal client is, or the ones you'd like to have more of? And do you know how many of those really exist within your current buyer base? And if you don't, you need to. Because how can you get what you want if you don't know what it is? Very interesting. Most people don't have a clue where they're going, and they're going so fast that it's almost tragic. What is the real benefit or benefits, and Joseph alluded to them, tangible and intangible, that your ideal prospective buyer wants and needs, and do they have it verbalized? I didn't get into this because I don't want to give you a 3-hour dissertation on preeminence. We've got 8 or 10 hours as I set up, so you can do that at your own pace. But one of the real key elements is verbalizing for your marketplace what it is they want or don't want, what they want to get closer to, away from, outcome, benefit, advantage, enjoyment, and put it into words no one ever has. And we will get into how to do that maybe today, probably tomorrow. What benefit or result does your competition provide? Do you know? I ask this question whenever I get a client, and I'm always shocked. Tell me about your competition. Tell me what they do, how they do it, what they do that you don't, what they're stronger at, what people see them as. where they have advantage over you, where they have weakness, what their means of communication is, what their positioning is. If you don't know, how can you counter program? And again, this is very pragmatic, critical thinking, and one of the things that I'm ahead of myself already on in this is that without critical, strategic, consequential, preemptive thinking, you cannot master referral generation. What benefit or result do you think you really provide above and beyond? I already asked what you provide, but now question, what do you provide that's incrementally superior or that's profoundly superior, tangible, intangible? And you know it, but is the client aware of it? Value creation, and I've got a document or I've got a video or an audio, I don't remember what it is, somewhere on value creation. But value creation is a very interesting concept. The majority of entrepreneurs they have a gap. What they think is value creation is not necessarily what their market thinks is value creation. Even what, and I didn't talk about the internal clients, which are the people you pay, your team, your vendors, your professionals and advisors. But until you're in alignment with what true value definition is in the eyes and the mind of your target audiences, you can't be great. And we might get into greatness tomorrow. This is always dynamic. What is the ideal prospect's biggest problem that is not being met by anyone, including you perhaps, but that could be met by you? Not that's impossible, but just that you haven't really tried to meet or make additive to what you do. And how could you help him or her solve that, or meet that, or achieve that, or overcome that? So here's a different template, and I'm going to go through this quickly. Just if you don't know these things, again, I'm not going to give you a bunch of superficial very, very theoretical concepts that you are going to forget and do nothing with except for, have as intellectual entertainment. I don't require that. It's a waste for both of us. So I'm going to make sure that this is indelible in your mind so that you really are forced to take action on this. Okay, so the demographics of your ideal prospective buyer. Do you know who they are, where they are, what they do? I presume today you do because of all the database and targeting capability, but do you? Do you understand, again, commonalities, profiles, access vehicles? Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to really get access to them. I mean, it could be everything from ethnicity, neighborhood, geographic, types of business, hobbies, political views, what they drive, what they read, what they're members of, educational background, health interests, where they vacation, all those things are potentially, not all denominators, but potentially factors we will integrate into the fabric of your ultimate referral generating system. And again, I'm going to introduce you probably tomorrow and the next day and part of the third day to a multitude of referral options, referral generating options. Don't delude yourself to think you're going to be the master of the universe and have 60 or 80 or 90 that you're going to follow. If you have one or none, and some of you do, and I'm going to interview you tonight a little bit because I think it's interesting, and we're going to go deep more tomorrow. But if you can only add 5 great ones or 7, and you really have one or none right now, what the implication that means to your ultimate outcome, growth, buyer mix, profitability, certainty of business sustenance is it's unimaginable. Okay, let's see. Who can refer? Okay, so when you think about referrals, and I want to give you a really interesting concept because it's very expansive beyond the linear belief. And everything I'm going to talk about after we get into the grounding is going to be nonlinear thinking. Linear thinking is not going to get you the result you want. But nonlinear thinking means that when you're thinking of referrals, you're thinking about getting your current buyers, clients to refer people. You're thinking about getting people who used to buy and no longer do but had a positive experience to refer people. You're thinking about people who maybe didn't buy but did not reject you because you weren't the preferred source. They just couldn't justify the transaction referring you. You're thinking about helping other companies, individuals, organizations refer their various people to you. You're thinking about your advisors either referring people or introducing you, referring you to people who can refer to you. You're thinking about vendors referring you to both other businesses that may be eliminating parts, products, services that you offer, or don't have the full suite of products or services you offer, or referring you to people going out of business that you could basically get to refer you to their trusted clients. Because a lot of people that go out of business, it's not because they didn't deal honorably with their clients, it's just they can't make profit anymore, but incrementally it can be very profitable to you. You're talking about vendors introducing you to talent, which has probably the ultimate leverage in your business, talent that may have clients associated, talents that may have skill sets that can multiply your performance, talents that may be able to reduce your expenses. Joseph, is this all making sense?
Yes, Jay.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yes.
You didn't know I was going to take it this direction, did you? I didn't know that. We always surprise ourselves. You're talking about former employees, former vendors. You're talking about vendors you don't use who might want to become your vendor. I'm just trying to expand the horizon of the scope we are going to visit and the journey we're going to take over the next 4 days, 4 evenings, mornings, whatever it is. Okay, as we're setting the stage for getting referrals, you got to reconcile the value you provide. And if it's not as exquisite, as sublime as it could be, you've got to improve it. I mean, the concept of over-deliver is applicable no matter where you rank on the price curve, the value, as far as not value you render, but the buying positioning that you are trying to create. If you don't revere yourself, if you don't have your team members revere the company they are associated with or the organization, if they don't see and feel and grasp the implication and the impact of the outcome you provide, if your vendors aren't squarely behind you, any of that is a break in the chain that will basically solidify and secure your referral generating future. I mean, are you really and truly interested and committed to your clients, or is it just transactional? By the way, only you know the answer, but today is reality check. And we will use reality check actually as a vehicle for getting referrals for you in a couple of sessions from now. But I want to get you the reality check right now. You're going to help people who can refer to you get reality checks, but that's a different story. Do you have rational and emotional reasons why people should refer to you? mean, asking for referrals is pretty selfish, don't you think? And that's what most people do. Will you give me referrals? Do you know anybody else who can use our product or service? I mean, if you think about it as I just expressed and articulated it, that's really tacky, it's self-serving, it doesn't have a lot of value to the recipient. It's really me, me, me. Doesn't make sense. Okay? Explain that you get, okay, do you really know how much of your business really comes from referral? And that's very critical for 3 reasons. One, so with integrity, you can start really expressing ours is a mainly referral-based business, a heavily referral-based business, an exclusively referral-based business, a meaningfully referral-based business. Ours is moving to an exclusive referral-based business. But if you don't have a context, you're not going to get the outcome. It's very interesting. I mean, I don't know if they still advertise because I don't read the in-flight magazines very much anymore, but there used to be a company called Caris Negotiation. And their motto was, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. I have the belief you don't get what you want, you get what you orchestrate. And you can't orchestrate it if you don't understand all the implications and all the integral nuances and factors that apply to the whole dynamic of referral generation. Okay, when we get into incentive, and this is something we will visit in tandem throughout the process, you can compensate people with rewards if legal, and a number of you can't because you've got constraints, medical, legal, accounting, I think, and that's okay. We'll visit strategies that are ethical, legal, at least I'll give you the seed and the germ of it, and you can expand and explore and adapt and adopt it. But compensation can be psychic, it can be financial if appropriate, it can be acknowledgement, it can be totally unrelated to what you do, it can be anything that makes both strategic and ethical and equitable sense in terms of the exchange that is an integral part of referral generation psychology. Joseph, I'm making sure I'm not spiraling out too rogue here, am I?
Those are good mind stimuluses, Jay. Thank you.
I got more, and then I'm going to take it back to you if you have a list. Again, everybody, tonight you're not going to get me hurried. I promise you we will get to your destination and you will have a great outcome by the last day. But tonight, this is getting your mind in gear. You might get a little bit of progress or you may not. It doesn't matter to me. I know where I'm taking you. But if you're going to give incentive, you got to understand what is really the right compensation. And compensation is another relative term. It could be psychic. It could be the sense of nobility, of protection. There's just so many gradients, and there's not one size fits all. People go, "Oh, okay, give me a bunch of referral generating strategy," and I say, "Well, it's not one size fits all. There are lots of elements that make your situation somewhat different and how you approach it meaningfully different. You've got the distinctions that you alone possess, nuances. You've got the culture you either have created or should create. You've got the support you provide to your clients. You've got conviction that drives your existence, the conviction and the hopefulness you have in the outcomes you provide for the client. I have a client, I got a lot of different diverse clients, but I have a really wonderful man who's an Upper East Side, very high-priced dermatology, cosmetic specialist. And he believes in every part of his being that the women and the men that he treats, they look more exceptional. They have more self-confidence, beauty, attraction because of what he does. And that he really believes that not in his arrogance, but in his outcome superiority. It's much different than his self-superiority. So you should think about that. Hopefulness is that we have this belief in we never really necessarily articulate or acknowledge it, but we have this belief in behalf of everyone else. When I started sharing my private consulting knowledge in some kind of a packaged, public, affordable way, I had the hopefulness that I could make a difference in the minds, the actions, the outcomes, the quality of contribution and results and rewards that entrepreneurs who I felt have dedicated their life to a business would achieve. I had that hopefulness for everyone I ever had the chance to impact. If you don't have that in your being, I suggest you basically reconcile with yourself whether you're in the right business. Because if you're not in the right business, although that is a byproduct, if you're not of this ilk, then you're sub-optimizing, and that makes it harder for me to make a difference in you in the next 4 days. You have perspective that is unique, that is driven by this preeminence that you should be achieving or should be soon achieving back at the ranch. Okay? You got to realize that your clients, no matter the sophistication or the base level, are your valued friends. They may not seem that to you, but in a real context, they, in the process of favoring you, have befriended you, your company, your products, your service, your people. They really are your deep friends. If you have any good friend, best friend, particularly in your life, you would not want anyone they care about, anyone that's important to them, whether it be family, colleagues, employees, employer, relatives. You would not want anybody who's important to them to ever be deserved in any decision, any commitment, any investment, any transaction they ever do. You would always, whether you benefited or not, you would always probably, if you had the knowledge or the ability, want them to always turn to you for perspective, for guidance, for well-reasoned, objective perspective on whatever that decision make would be. And it's the same attitude in wanting anybody who is your best friend, who has befriended you, and you are befriended reciprocally, to never have anyone in their lives be deserved. And that is another foundation of referral generation. It's a responsibility that you have. Okay. All right. So, question 1. Do you constantly have you ask your clients for testimonials? And if the answer is yes, have you really gotten great ones? And if the answer is no, why? One of the things that people, there's passionate based testimonials, which are not the romantic passion, although it is a romantic side. When people are exuberant about a benefit they get, an outcome they get, a protection they get, they are able to really express themselves in beautiful language. And I talk about that in something we'll visit probably tomorrow. But if you don't have a constant process to collect testimonials, affirmations, acknowledgments from people you are serving, and have those as not just tools, but of reinforcements, certainly for use in helping your clients feel comfortable referring to others, but also in reinforcing your own sense of value to yourself and that of all your team members. If you don't have that, you've got to start getting that. And if you can't get it, unless there's a very unique business you're in, you got to question yourself. But ask yourself, and everybody can think of, or there can be categories, there can be knowledge from the people you deal with. If you have a human type of interaction, you're not just doing it online, you should know those people who got great outcomes. You should be able to continuously get what I'll call happy campers to give you genuinely robust confirmation of the benefit they're getting. And they can do it certainly video, they can do it written, but if you're not collecting them and you don't have a constantly expanding archive and library of those to use, both by general clients and also that can be sorted by category. Category can be category of the individual, demographic. It can be category of product, service, category of expenditure, category of issue. Then you are diminishing your ability to generate referrals. You're going to get the integration of some of my other ideology, methodology, and philosophy integrated into this process, because unless you embrace it, you're not going to be masterful at this. But I talk about often in the last few years the fact that there are two kinds of entrepreneurs. There are two-dimensional thinkers and there are three. Two-dimensional thinkers are very linear. All they see in their business is revenue less expense equal short-term profit. Three-dimensional thinkers are more like private equity firms. They don't think just about revenue less profit. They think about the investment in the asset and the continuous return and appreciation that asset is delivering. Very different. In terms of referral generation, you have to know what kind of ROIs, a referral generated prospective buyer renders vis-a-vis a externally rendered one. How much you are spending right now in direct, indirect costs in the outside market. How much yield you get from the typical first-time referred buyer versus a purchased buyer, which is, marketed or advertised based. How much different categories of revenue come in from different categories of referrals. Again, if you don't know that, you're not going to be able to optimize the ideas, strategies, instruction, and guidance I'm going to be giving you as we progress. Do you continuously help your clients measurably quantify, denominate, at least, if not explicitly, at least, let's call it, if it can't be quantified totally, do you help them at least anecdotally figure out what they're getting tangibly and intangibly, so both they appreciate you more, your company, your business, product, service, people, processes, and are willing to share that appreciation in a formal way, both in testimonials and in transaction, meaning generating referrals for you? Do you know how to ethically pre-program a buyer at different intervals in the buying process and the sustaining buying process, if you have that, or the exit process, to optimize their ability, willingness, capability, and facility to generate referrals for you. It's not their problem if you don't help them. It's not their problem if you don't guide them. It's not their problem if they don't see the value. It's not their problem if they don't see the means. There's a funny process, and this is getting ahead of myself, but one client of mine who taught me a fun lesson, every time they get a new buyer, they just ask in the first session, who referred you? They don't really care origin because they want to start with the programming implication that everybody coming in is referred. And you're going to ask yourself probably, or you have, when is it right, when is it wrong to ask or seek referrals? How is it right, how is it wrong to either reward, compensate, demonstrate the reasoning behind it, and reason why is always a driver of everything we do. How do you identify currently, select, modify, initiate, integrate referrals into your business right now? Now, when you think about points of contacts that you have with your prospects and buyers. So depending on what you sell, how you sell it, you might be single purchase, you might be ongoing, you might have a very deep connection. It might be not so close, but throughout the transactional life, whenever there's servicing, whenever there's problems, whenever there's technology issues, technical support, customer service, when product performance is completed, at the end, exit, post-graduation, as I call it, at key timelines, when things happen in the buying maturity, at convergent points, when different things occur, when technological things happen, when education about the product or service becomes new and you can share it, at holidays. I'm just giving you impact points. When you see by analyzing that you have a default tendency of one kind of a buyer or one kind of a purchasing dynamic. We found people one time, and I can't remember the business right now, but they found out that they had an enormous number of people who were into biking, and they didn't know that. Another had a different profile, and when you know that, it's very powerful. Also, when you break out the caliber, the categories, the generic distinctions of your buyers, you're in a position to honestly and authentically express that we probably deal with more blank than anyone else when you're trying to reinforce the reasoning rationale to an existing client for referring another one. When you identify whatever it is they buy before, during, after, even instead. Again, when we talk about referrals, I don't want you to be linear in your thought process. I want you to think what I'll call beyond linear. We have a new distinction, which is a whole different program called Beyond Exponential, which I won't get into tonight or tomorrow or even the next day. But I want you to think that your referral strategy can be you getting your buyers to refer to you. It can be you getting other companies who deal with the same buyer or the same profile referring their people to you. It can be other companies that maybe even are competitors but don't have the full suite of products or services you do, referring those non-duplicated buyers of them to you if they trust you. It can be you doing the opposite, by the way, and having a two-way valve. It can be your vendors referring, as I said, other companies, other professionals who are either abandoning product, service, or businesses, either knowingly, willingly, or because of business adversity, but who have a good reputation. It can be referring talent, referring opportunities. There's a whole spectrum that transcends the linear definition of a referral. And I want you aware of that, because I'm going to take you on that kind of an adventure. So if you're not prepared for it, you're going to be shocked, and I do not want that. All your staff has the capacity to refer based on their current and their historic past of jobs, residences, interest, associations, participatory groups. Whenever there's new technology worth discussing, it's a chance for referrals. Whenever there's new products, it's a chance for referrals. Whenever there's a new application, it's a chance for referrals. Whenever there's a new quantification that you may discover from a client giving you a testimonial, it's a chance for referrals. Whenever you can rationally host, sponsor, partner on events, education, experiences, contribution, philanthropy, noble community support, it's a chance for referrals. So the goal of the sessions, just so you know it, I might have already said this, introduce you to an entirely new way of thinking about referrals and all the magnitude, expanse, and exquisite possibilities they represent today, to slow you down so you can run faster, bigger, more bountifully once you fully integrate this and actuate it within yourself, and it takes true rooted, seated magnificence so you can do something with it. And I'm not intellectual entertainment, because I no longer require that. I'm far transcendent to that. To get you to revere yourself, to provide you with more positioning weaponry, not negative, but the powerful armament that's going to get the job done for you, and the certainty that you will be able to be in striking distance, meaning this positively, so you're going to get the outcome you deserve if you deserve it. If you don't deserve it, I can't help you. Honestly, I really can't. And it's not my problem. But if you deserve it, we're going to have a great, great collaboration over these 4 days to provide you with a broad spectrum of options, strategic possibilities for you to examine, evaluate, and choose from. To give you scenarios that many other companies have adapted, adopted, and applied, so you can play with the globs of clay and fashion your own integrated model. To role play with you after we get these laid down, so that you have ideas that you can then play back to me, and I can course correct, I can enhance, I can adjust. To help you choose the complement of referral strategies best suited to your business, your clientele, or your desired clientele, and the easiest, most comfortable way to implement, to answer your questions, to build you ultimately an action game plan, to have you submit them to me so I can positively critique them, and that I can reward you if you want to refer more people to us at the end, because we do a good job. Okay. I want to stop now, Joseph, and I want to call upon some people, because to my delight, many, if not the most of you, indicated that you already do. By the way, this group is skewed service. Doesn't surprise me, although I think a lot of people who are in product categories don't really understand how valuable referral generation can be to them. But our audience tonight and tomorrow and the next 2 nights is skewed very, very heavily service. So I want to get a little bit of not just feedback, but I want to get a short, pithy sharing tonight of some of the methodology that you guys and girls already use, because I thought some of the concepts were interesting, and I want to ask questions and be the advocate and the champion of every one of you, getting your minds really expanded tonight so that I can start identifying very specific applications, explaining, expounding, exampling, and then having you start getting a context of possibilities so you can start choosing and figuring out ways you can adapt and adopt them. So we have all these people there, and with very few exceptions, I'm looking at are the right, and I'm asking a question because we've got a big screen projected. Are the percentages where people get their referrals right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
this is the number of strategies.
Yeah, I'm going to call, and Joseph, again, give me the methodology, because I didn't, and all of you, this is, I know where I'm taking you. I do it very, very, not extemporaneously, but very authentically as I'm recalibrating continuously and adjusting. I was talking to somebody last night about LiDAR, and I have a client, those of you who know what LiDAR, it's a very great way of examining things, and it's shooting all these beams constantly from all kinds of angles and getting feedback that it correlates and distills. And I'm doing that always as we do this. If you want to share your concept and want to discuss a little bit of what you're thinking right now, I want a duality. I want you to tell me what's in your mind right now from what I've shared so far. And hopefully, I have created a little bit of a positive catharsis and a catalytic sort of an event in your mind, and I want to hear what it is. Marcelo, hello.
Hey Jay, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Good, really good. It's good to be talking with you.
It's very good. Okay, where are you calling from?
From Australia.
Wow. Okay, well, it's morning?
Yes, it's
cool.
Actually 9:30 in the morning here.
Tell us your business.
So we have clinics of exercise and nutrition. I'm the exercise physiologist of the clinics, and my wife is the dietitian of the clinics. We have 5 locations here in Perth, WA.
Well, that's a lot. Very cool. And so I want to ask you the duality of the question. First of all, I hope I don't need you to have enjoyed what I've shared so far, but I need you to have gained from it so far. Have you?
Actually, I jumped in just, I would say, about 15 minutes ago. I haven't got the full.
Oh, you missed my beautiful, exquisite overlay. Well, you listened to 15 minutes. What did you get out of that?
Yeah, so I think all the channels that we can explore, untapped channels in terms of referrals that you were mentioning, the staff, the all kinds of different organizations that our own clients, they have, it's something that we can explore big time and probably are not exploring at the moment. So for us, I think it will be great to hear some of the strategies and how to communicate with them.
So share with me and everyone one strategy that you use right now that works that might be adaptable.
So what we use at the moment, we sort of communicate with newsletters constantly with our clients, and we often offer, refer a friend or refer a partner, associate, and you get a discounted rate, or you get a week off in their own journey with us.
And does that work?
That works really well. We get quite a good referral from those strategies, but also I believe because our business is based on service, and the most quality of our service, which is always premium, but we deliver in terms of weight loss, strength, and body composition changes, it becomes kind of a natural referral that people socialize and then they talk to their friends and whatnot. I think there's probably ways we could be stimulating more of that, but that's a natural referral that probably will
Okay,
be the
cool.
best one for us.
All right, that's good. All right, thank you. Joseph, next.
Jay, next in line, we have Gemma.
Okay. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
Where are you calling from? I see you are hospitality consulting, right?
That's right. I'm in Oakland, California.
Good. All right. So if you would answer, please, my two questions. One is, I hope you have gotten something so far that is maybe not staggering or shocking or stunning, but it is maybe understated, profound in its realization. And if so, what is it?
I think that I've gotten so much from this, but I think one of the biggest ones is verbalizing for my marketplace. I think a lot of hospitality professionals don't have time to reflect on what their biggest struggles are. And so being able to say that for them in a way that resonates, I think creates a lot of trust. So I'm excited to put more thought into that.
Okay, and then you do referrals right now. You do
Yes.
like a nice business. What's the singularly most effective mechanism you use right now that might be, mirrorable or modelable or adaptable by others on this program?
I think focusing some energy into the industry partners who send people our way. So the escrow agents and the real estate brokers, they don't get a lot of love where they are. So just fostering those relationships.
So if I may ask you, because there's nomenclature like working with them, fostering, but that means something very unique to you that others may not perceive. Do you mind going rapidly, but a little bit more granular and concrete on how you do it specifically?
Scheduling lunches with them, just calling them to check in, see how they're doing. I sometimes jokingly frame it as like, I want to gossip about what's going on and just sort of creating this appreciation for the difficulties that they deal with so they feel more comfortable sending people our way because I sound like I get it to them.
And so I know, what precisely is the service that you provide?
We help with the state liquor license application. We manage the entire process for
Okay.
anyone that needs an ABC license in California.
So are the sources that generate for you many, or is there a certain vertical type categories that you get?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, so somebody's going to know ahead of time who wants or needs or is trying to buy the liquor license. You need that source to refer that prospective client to you, right?
That's generally the real estate broker. We get a lot of
So
clients
they
from
know
them.
ahead of time, right?
They're the first to know. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And it's going to be more commercial than it is going to be residential, obviously.
Right.
And there's a different breed, and they are probably grateful. Do you have a broad array of brokers that refer to you?
Yeah. I would say we have a solid 10 in the Bay Area that are consistently referring to us.
And I ask a question which is not meant to be anything but curious. If you have 10, are you constantly adding another 2 or 3 every year? Or have you gotten to a point where you're somewhat comfortable with the 10 that you have?
I definitely think we're under, we could do more there. I'm not comfortable where we are. I want more.
Good. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
today I just want to see where we are and just get a little bit of a calibration. Next, Joseph.
Jay, next in line, we have Philip.
Hello, Philip.
Hey Jay, how are you?
How are you? Where are you, please?
I am in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay, and your business, sir?
I do communication consulting.
Okay, cool. And then do you have, okay, two questions. First of all, have you gotten anything meaningful so far?
Yes, actually, value creation and the tangible and intangibles. I've got, something like 24 tangibles and 16 intangibles. And the question is, do all my competitors do all of those? And probably they do, most of them. So value creation and standing out in my very, I guess, competitive marketplace where everyone calls themselves trusted advisors is tough to do. So I think that's
Well, and
it's
I
huge.
will, and I will, Philip, I will give you all in a little while before this ends a shortcut when everything has become commoditized to turning yourself into more of a proprietary. But that's good. So, do you have a referral process right now you use?
Yes, I built my initial business on vendor joint ventures. So
What's
I
that
do
look like?
so if I'm selling internet and telephone services, I go to managed service providers and IT service providers that provide managed IT services, and I say, hey, why don't you get paid on the telecom and internet services that you manage for your clients? And it's basically a 40-40 split. I keep 40% of the monthly recurring revenue. They get 40% and 20% goes to my back office.
And have you been successful doing that?
Yes.
And
And
go ahead, please.
so yes, I've been successful. But then over the last year, I started to ask myself, what are my favorite clients and how many of those joint venture partners bring me those favorite clients, and
What was your
how many
answer?
of those, my answer was they bring me a lot of clients that I hate. And how do I, and how do I filter them out without them running away and saying, hey, I'm not going to refer you business anymore? How do I say, hey, I only want you to refer me these type of people? So that's a challenge.
Okay, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, awareness is the first step in, and clarity is the first step in change. So I ask you this question, the same I ask others, because I've found in my travels and experiences that people will work to get a certain critical mass of referrals, particularly in the application that you and the previous was it Gemma do, and then they'll get to a plateau and they tend to get not necessarily comfortable, but stuck and don't always know how to transcend their current level of status quo. I don't know that that's an issue you're struggling with or not, but I'm curious, is it?
I think I could have kept running down that hill, but I ran into too many like conflicts of interest with people just bringing me customers that I didn't want. So my roadblock became doing the opposite and going direct and just saying, don't do any referral partnerships, go direct and create that value and status in the marketplace where people just come to you direct. So the reason why I'm
And so
here is
did you target the people you wanted that way?
exactly, yes.
And what's
Yes.
just one, I don't want to spend too much time tonight, but what's one type of a client that you target that is desirable?
Mid-market IT director in manufacturing with 200 to 2,000 employees.
Okay. But have you thought of the reverse, just coincidentally, who's already got a trusted relationship with that person that may not be the direct? One of the things I'm going to introduce to everybody, it might be tonight, it might be tomorrow, is to think not just linear, but so nonlinear about who else has the trusted relationship with that decision maker or influencer who is not necessarily the one you would typically go to, but he or she really has the ear, the trust, the credibility, and they wouldn't even ever be approached by somebody like you. You don't have to answer tonight, but I think that we probably ought to do an exercise after we go through a bunch of examples tomorrow and the next day of of literally who else has access to that decision maker who would be a clear and direct access with no conflicts, no, no competitive anything, but just has their trust and would never in a million years be approached by somebody like you. Don't answer tonight, but think about it, okay?
Thank you.
So next in line, Jay, we have Scott.
Scott, thank you.
Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I like your picture. You look
Thank
like a happy camper. Okay, so tell me, I've got to see if I can find you. Okay, you're a dentist. No wonder you're smiling.
Hey, Jay, so the thing that I've gotten the most for question number one is how integral throughout the entire process referrals are through the beginning of the company all the way to the end.
And I'm glad. And one of the things, just so I can, and there's a plane taking off next door. One of the things that I think is great for you is you have the wonderful advantage of three things. Your staff can be a great referral source for you. Your technicians can. And you can also be a great and a very authentic one, while no one can talk and they have their mouth closed. And I don't mean that manipulative, but you can talk about other outcomes you've had, interesting anonymized cases you've just worked on, new procedures, processes, scenarios. And that simple process, believe it or not, can produce enormous outcome.
Absolutely.
All right, tell me one thing you do now that works that maybe has some merit for other people to listen to.
So this is a little bit beyond the spectrum of getting clients, but I found that getting referrals from employees to find another employee that's a high caliber works to break up a bonus across 4 quarters and say, when you bring me a good type of employee, I'll pay you out $250 per quarter for as long as they stay. And the employee has the wherewithal to want to refer a good type of employee and not somebody who's not so good.
Yeah, and remember, I think if you were on from the beginning, which I hope you were, I qualified or I unqualified and said, when I talk about referral generation, it's the spectrum. I mean, it's whatever. It's not limited to just people paying you. My definition of a client: people you pay, and people who pay you, your team members, your vendors, your advisors. And so it matters not to me how you use this. What matters is how it enhances the performance, profitability, certainty, and outcome of your business.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Jay, next in line, we have Arturo.
Hi, Arturo. How are you? Unmute. You find it?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, Jay. How about you?
I'm good. Where are you based?
I am from Mexico. You might remember me.
I remember you. Yes, I do. Remind me of your business, though.
We started, as you might remember, as an internet consulting service, but we have moved up a little bit in the scale towards more marketing and commercial type of advice and consulting. So
very good. And it's where look, I see your volume, so it looks like it's doing better and better.
Yes, it is.
Good for you. Congratulations. So tell me what your biggest so far realization might be from tonight.
Being friends to my clients. In my case, I try to kind of separate my relationship with clients in a professional way and not probably in a personal way. So that's even a very strong and important challenge for me, because I'm more in a kind of a shy type of person. And even though I try to work with them in a friendly manner, I'm not really very good friend of them in terms of doing things apart from the work or the projects. So that's a challenge for me, and I understand that being friends might have different meanings, but that's something I really like.
And I appreciate your candor, And truthfully, when you allow that kind of a connection to be established, you enjoy it more, they enjoy you more. It's much deeper bond, and the outcome and the output and the input, it all is enhanced. So I think you're really going to find, if you can, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. It's, it's processional, and not tonight, but when it comes Q&A time, I will be very, very happy to have you say, Jay, help me develop a way to progressively, improve myself, or comfortably embrace it, or mentally shift my mindset, or whatever you need. Okay.
Yes, that's
So
great.
do you have a strategy you use that is worth sharing?
Yes, what I do is I recruit people as sales people, but people that have other jobs, or even full-time or part-time, so as to help me access potential buyers. And what I give them is a compensation of 1 month worth of professional services. I normally propose to my clients 12-month programs. So if they enroll with me, I pay them or compensate them with 1 full month of professional services, which is quite a good
Yeah. And
amount
do
of
these
money.
people tend to be involved in the fields that you end up getting clients from, or are they just randomly finding you clients?
It's people that I notice are good at relationships.
That's interesting. And just curiously, one more gradient, how do you find them?
It's friends or people that are recommended to me from
So
other
so
people.
you're getting them from referrals.
Yes, or even people that I already know, or that I just notice that are good at human relationships, that can really be can easily access people or other people, even
Cool.
unknown people. So
Very cool.
probably it's even doing what I'm not very good at doing myself.
That's great. Very good. I like that. Thank you. It's great talking to you. I'm very proud of you.
I will share the fruit.
Thank you. Joseph?
Jay, I'm going to bring Lynn on again.
All right, that's fine. Hi, Lynn. You fell off. Okay,
I
go
know.
for it.
You were verbal and I couldn't hear you. Sorry about that, Jay.
It's okay.
So it's been very good. This is a revisit for me, and I'm learning a lot again. It's a big valuable lesson in revisiting your work more frequently.
Okay, so, but I always want to try to get you into granularity or concreteness. What's the biggest single distinction?
I think for me, on this so far, was that we need to do more explaining to our clients our process of what goes into it. If you remember, our service is free to the clients. We get paid through the industry that I'm in, the senior housing industry.
I remember.
So
I know the model. I know the model.
And so explaining to them what we go through and what our process is, so we're valued more. That was a big takeaway for me. And then asking them more up in the beginning of the phone call. We always ask in the beginning, where did they come from? Where were they referred by, or who?
Good. All right. That's great. And you've got a little bit of a bad connection, so I'm going to hurry this. Give me one referral approach, strategy, tactic that you have used that might be applicable, or at least directionally usable by everyone else or many of the people.
I learned this from you. And so we send out a card, appreciation card, for everybody that we have worked with, thanking them for allowing us to be of service, but additionally asking in that card for referrals. Back when we say really, very nicely, but we also then will give to a charity of their choice. There are several that we have listed, a donation for every referral we get from them.
Okay, and that works?
And it does a little bit, not a lot, because not everybody, we do get referrals from those people, but they're not so interested in the charity part of it. So I want to try to look at what we can do there better. I've already learned at least 2 other, maybe 3 so far, just in revisiting, listening to you, of systems that I plan to put in place.
Okay. All right, good. And one of the things that I always tell everyone, and it's not a condemnation of you, it's just a response back. If the strategy you're following isn't producing the results you want, then you change variables. One variable is the compensation or the purpose. The other is the communication in the document. The other is the frequency. And there's a whole bunch of different variable shifts that if you experiment with have the ability to dramatically change the outcome. Better, worse, neutral, you don't know till you try it. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Tonight, I am not going to get into deep probative analysis, dimensionality, examples, but I am going to review some of the cool things that we will, so you know that I'm not vacuous and we do have more than a few ideas to share with you in the 2 days to come and then work on with you in the 4th day. So I'm just going to go through a litany to either blow your mind, expand your mind, give you a headache, all the above, none of the above, whatever you like. And can you give me another water, please? All right. So the first thing on my list, which we'll get into when we get into it, is making referral generation a condition of doing business and embracing that in the very beginning of the relationship and reiterating it throughout the relationship and literally accessing that expectation at certain performance intervals in the relationship. Adding referral-based complementary services, whatever you do to other people's businesses, product, service offerings, adding it to what your existing clients can bestow to others. I'm going to get very deep over the period of time we talk tomorrow and the next day and what I call holistic referral generation. What this means is the vast majority of people who try to generate referrals do it in a very rigid, linear, and very generic way that is an offshoot of whatever they do. They think that if I want to get referrals for my marketing business, then I have to basically deal with marketing. Whereas they forget profoundly that the individual they are trying to communicate with, if it's an existing client, an ex-client, even somebody who didn't buy, who could be a referral source because they're blown away by you, they just can't justify you for any of a number of reasons. They are human beings. They are men, they are women, they are people concerned with their businesses or their careers or their health or their beauty or their attractiveness or their romance or their finances or their retirement or their vacation or their children or their children's education, and all of that spectrum of holistic interest or opportunities for you to endear and indelibly insinuate your bad self into their lives and into their hearts. And the more we get into this, the more you will be baffled and stunned and staggered and excited about all you can do that work that no one else thinks about. We talk about organizing nonlinear events, and we're not going to go deep. I'm just going to give you a little bit of food for reflection. You can organize, if you think again about this holistic view, segments of your audience, your market, and if you don't know, you should find out, have a lot of interest. They have interest in being better investors. They have interest in being, learning hobbies. They have interest in gaining technological or career skill sets. They have interest in learning to be more connoisseurs of things, whether it be wine or art or culinary. And if you sponsor activities like that, you're going to preemptively gain an access vector point that no one else ever thought about. I want everyone to think tonight about reallocating your marketing budget, assuming you have a marketing budget or an allowable cost. Because if you put money into referral generating people, processes, activities, actions, you will probably get an outcome that is outsized by by orders of magnitude over what you're getting from what you do. One of the easiest ways to generate referrals is to have your clients or have other people who have clients you want gift them what I will call introductory or first stage or sample or experiential accesses to your product. And all of these have to be done with enormously nuanced implementation, execution, articulation, follow through, which I will get into when we get into them. I'm just trying to screw positively with your brain a little bit. Becoming the recommended provider of different organizations, different businesses. Just by being the recommended provider, you get preemptive status. Amassing outrageous collections of testimonials and endorsements that you can give to a client to give to their other potential refer sources. We used to, whenever we wanted to do anything and blow people's mind, I had a collection that we called 501 amazing case studies, and they were all testimonials from a whole spectrum of clients that gave us daytime phone numbers, businesses, numbers, walked you through case studies, and we bound them all together in 8 pounds of a soft-bound book that we would send out to people to give to other people, and it just kicked ass. Or we did it differently. We would send over a period of time. We would break them apart and aggregate them into units of 10 and send them over 12 months to our existing clients, asking them to re-forward them to other people. Now you can do a lot more with the wonderment of digital technology, and people can send the same thing. Instead of sending one set of 10, they can send the 10 over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. But they don't know what to do, so you have to guide them, and we'll get into that. Okay, this is a distinction. A reactivation is just as good as a referral. So is going back and converting unsold prospects. And we will get into this when the time is appropriate. The concept of lunch and learn is seemingly overworked, but it's overworked because it works. And again, what I have taught, those of you who followed me for many, many years, and those who haven't, maybe you should, and I'm not saying it arrogantly, I'm saying because I teach a lot of distinctions categorically. One of them is called the power Parthenon of geometric growth. And it advocates that you do not put all your eggs in one basket, that you have concurrently many different approaches and sources operating at the same time, reaching the market from many different impact points. And it uses a philosophy that is best akin to the militaristic concept of force multiplier effect. And force multiplier effect means if you were going if you were at war with me, what I would do first would knock out probably your infrastructure, your telecommunication, your roads, your harbors, your airports, and your internet. Then I would probably maybe do bombs or surface-to-air missiles or attack drones, and then I might do I don't know, maybe tanks. But I would do all these hitting the same targets and others designed to basically have the cumulative effect of winning the war. If you are going to approach referral generation, you do not want to do one thing. You want to do combinations of things, and one of the things I think is very important, just as you want a brand identity, you want to get in your referral generation a positioning identity where you're a contributor, or you're a source of all kinds of knowledge, or you're a provider of fun experiences, And I will get into all kinds of things with nuances. I'm just introducing you to some ideas tonight. There's a great book that was written, 10 years ago by Keith Ferrazzo. I think the title is Never Eat Alone. And if you have different categories of clients, the big problem that a lot of entrepreneurs find is when they start their businesses, they're very connected to their clients because they probably built them and they didn't have that many. Then with any level of success, they get levels and they get removed and they don't always even know or have impact. But if you want to get referrals, use your morning, use your afternoon, use your evening when you can. Have meals with them. If you don't drink, have tea with them or coffee, and get invested in these friends who have befriended you so that you have justification for them to see your value and refer to you. And talk about the client you serve and talk about the scenarios that happen and talk about the outcomes people receive and talk about the different applications you provide and talk about the profiles of the different clientele you serve so you help people refer to you. You can take your product or service, particularly those of you who are in the service business, because you have high margin and oftentimes you have underutilization, and you can exchange it and its value as compensation to other people who can refer to you. It's really no cost, and it basically makes them a user of your services. You can offer to retain, if you have a very large consumer type of a base, and represented in those base of different kinds of a demographic, you can fund, instead of expensive marketing that's low yielding or advertising, you could fund skill set retraining for people who are at points in their careers where either they have to be retrained because what they're doing is getting marginalized, or they're retiring and can't afford to retire. Again, this is more the holistic viewpoint of being the true benefactor of the totality of your existing clientele or other people's clientele, not the limitations of the vertical, singular application of what you do. This is simplistic, but if you offer, it depends on what you sell. Offering multiple purchases only works if it doesn't have applicability to one buyer. In other words, if I say if you buy 2 cars, there's a deal, the odds are I don't really need 2 cars, and I'll probably try to find a second person that I know if it's a deal to buy the other. If I say, if I do a Costco or a Walmart deal where you get 6 bottles of oversized peanut butter, it's not going to be the same. And one of the keys to what I'm going to try to teach you over these 4 days is to think critically and to think consequentially and to think strategically, because most people don't. This is we don't see most people in business don't see themselves as an impresario. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but if you visualize yourself not as a Barnum and Bailey, but as this great host of all kinds of happenings that dimensionalize your business above and beyond the maddening crowd, you can sponsor fun events. We had a company that we counseled who was into restorative, when there was flooding. They would sponsor all these events. They would take plumbers to ball games, things that were very cool to the plumbers, and they would get a box, or they would get, and it was very inexpensive. They would rent a bus, and they would go on the lowest desirable evening so they could get the tickets very inexpensively. But the referrals they got from those kind of events were enormous. And I'm just giving you food for thought tonight. We'll get into each of these and many more deeply when it's appropriate. Anytime you have new products or services, if you don't know the profile of your clients, You don't know what they buy and what they don't buy. When you know what they buy and you know what they don't buy, then you can introduce to them, first of all, new services for them, but also services that might appeal to their other people, and also products and services that they have no interest in, but if they know you offer them, or applications, they might know of somebody, particularly if you guide them. And guidance and direction and orchestration and architecting the outcome is integral to what you need to be doing if you want the outcome. Okay. People who stop doing business with you, people stop doing business for three reasons. One, they had a bad experience. That is usually correctable by being what in the Jewish religion we call a mensch, and connecting with them, explaining to them, and I have a process for this, that you would never knowingly allow anything other than, over delivering of service product value to happen. If there was an event or an occurrence that was inappropriate or unacceptable or dissatisfying, you don't want you always want the last transaction that you have with them to be a positive one. So you want to write it and do something where you may not make any money, you may even lose a little money, but tell them that your hope is you can win them back, and you append to that and get their referrals to boot. If you do it right, you will win half of them back. The second reason you lose business is they outgrow you. They no longer need you, but it didn't mean they didn't have a stunning experience and they don't think the world of you. And so you don't necessarily communicate with them because they're gone. And that's a fallacy, because they're perhaps greater potential referral sources than the ones that you do business with. Finally, there's a group of people that become inactive because they have an interruption in their life. Something happens. They go on, vacation, or they have an injury, or something happens that interrupts. But you can get them back, and whenever you get anyone back, you just append, I want you back because I want to basically continue adding value, supporting you, whatever the product service is, and I want you to feel comfortable continuing to basically provide referrals to us. But if you don't ask and integrate them, you usually won't get them. There's a concept called the Dream 100. It was created by a former colleague of mine and Tony Robbins, Chet Holmes, who's deceased. But if you know that you want certain people, you make a list. And then you go to your clients and say, do you know any of these people? Do you have access? Do you know anybody that knows any of these people? And by the way, not very much of what I'm going to share is going to be so profound that it's brilliant. It's going to actually be so elegantly obvious once I utter it. You're going to go bang, and I just whacked myself on the head if you're not watching. And if you're not listening today, I apologize and I'm sorry. Vendors can refer to you products, services. People can refer other vendors who want your business, who might fund all these activities for you. But if you're not really aware of all these and you're not systematically doing additive processes on a strategic, integrated way, you're never going to get the outcomes you want. Provide businesses with growth. I'm working with a car dealer, I'm working with real estate people, and I have a very simple process, and I'm going to sell this, so me telling you this is a really good opportunity if you want to run with it. It's the easiest way to get thousands and thousands and thousands of referral sources for yourself very quickly in the course of a year or less. If it's the right kind of business, every week, find a way to help 10 to 50 local business people, professionals, organizations grow. Provide them with marketing help. Provide them with sales help. Provide them with advertising help, provide them with digital media or social media help, and do it not static, but keep adding to it and telling them you want to be the first. You start, and there's a method to it. I'm not going to get into it tonight, but you basically acknowledge their relevancy. You tell them that you think they deserve to be a more meaningful force in the community and thrive. You want to be the first to invest in their success because you know over time they will see that you are worth reciprocating. And if you do that every week, or you have someone else do it for you, and that introduces another thought, which I'll add in a moment, you can have 100, 1,000 referral sources who each have hundreds or thousands of clientele loving you every year, and just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. And by the way, if you don't have the time or effort, either you yourself or you can syndicate with a bunch of other complementary businesses, can hire a referral generating, I call it a CRO, a chief referral officer, and you can have that person do this for you. You can provide expertise to companies. What if you helped all kinds of local businesses get better at blogging or podcasting? Most of them have terrible communications. What if you had a videographer that, and by the way, anything I'm suggesting, all of you who sell services, you know two things. One, it is a rarity. You would not be on this call if you were fully utilized. You have underutilized capacity. So do all kinds of other experts. Doesn't matter if they charge $500 an hour. If they have 10 hours empty, you can find ways to utilize them and get them to do things either on a deferred basis, on a contribution basis where they get their benefit from the sources, or on a lower compensation where they only do it when they have underutilization. What if you hired a videographer that worked with companies you wanted to get referring their people to you to help them do better video podcasts or Instagram? I mean, would that be smart? Maybe. Or if you bought people memberships in bulk that cost you very little but had high perceived value, or you bought companies mass memberships they could distribute to their clients and get great value added, kudos, and bonding. I mean, I'm going to go on and on and on, and you're going to go, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, but I couldn't do that myself. Why? I'm not going to get into the psychological reticence you might have. We'll deal with that in part of this process, but not tonight. I've got terrible penmanship, so I have to read it slowly. I mean, what if you got, particularly if you're not in a big market, what if you got a local icon, a personality, and you paid him or her to interview a bunch of merchants or a bunch of people so they had something really cool that they could put on their website, and they had something with a prestigious person in the community? Do you think that that would give you some level of deferred reciprocity? So when you realize that relationships in business are continuums, if you identify every interaction point and everybody that does it, not just you, not just your salespeople, your delivery people, your service people, your customer service people, your technical support people, your billing people, every one of those is a potential referral generating lever for you if you understand it. When people stop doing business with you, you should have an exit strategy. They do it in big corporations. And one of my very, very dear friends found that when he spent an hour, I wouldn't say spend an hour with every client that at the end of their purchasing life with you, because a lot of you have singular type or very limited type products or services or buying periods when people are done. You just let them go. Why? That's a great opportunity to leverage a referral or many referrals or all kinds of other things. Hold on. I have a colleague, and he basically trains mortgage brokers, and he's got for them an app he gives them that lets mortgage brokers it's a cool app you put on your iPhone, and it's basically it allows you to basically put a scrolling. What is it you want when you're doing videos and you look at it? Not what is it? It rolls and you read it. Oh, my brain isn't working tonight. I'll come back, but it's a little app, and people love it because they can do all their Instagram and all their Facebook stuff instantly. It looks very professional because it's rolling on their iPhone, so they're taking a picture and reading it at the same time on their screen. What if you gave those to people as a gift, people who could endorse you, people who could recommend you, people who could do referrals? When you get a referral, two things. How do you thank somebody? One of our mentors has a wild process. He sends out a 3-page letter, and it just says, thank you, 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 paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, and at the end says, I really appreciate you and what you did. Thank you. Teleprompter, yes. It's teleprompter. Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you a few tonight. It's sort of interesting, I think. Organize a board of advisors, particularly a changing one where you recruit your best clients. Do you think if they have a tighter affiliation with you, they might be more motivated? Secondly, organize other committees with clients to work on other projects or possibilities or research, or organize groups for social or for charitable or for community contributions. Why do you have to wait? One of the biggest and the most laughable things I find, there's stuff like BNI and lead generation clubs, and there's 30 people and they meet once whatever the period is, weekly or monthly, and they pay money. And when I interview generic groups like realtors, they go, "Oh, I'm a member of one, and I get one or two really good deals every quarter, and they're worth $10,000." And I say, why don't you organize your own and do 30 of them? Why don't you have groups you organize and you're the leader of going on all the time, so that instead of doing one, you've got the geometric exponential growth? Why are you inhibited by a paradigm that makes no sense? Help other businesses grow their teams. People to understand trust building, collaboration, communication. All those attributes produce more leverage internally, particularly for small entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of resources. Most people do training. Their idea of training is training their team to understand the product or the service or the technical elements or the catalog. They don't understand all the soft skills that can make a piece of human capital perform at 2 or 3 or 4 times the productivity, thus giving that company performance advantage, thus giving the owner of that company or practice a debt of gratitude and reciprocity to you. Every time anything happens in your market or in the world that is deserving, make a donation, but send a letter or an email to every one of your clients. Say, and make it in everybody's name. A donation was made in your name to, the fire, restorative fund of California, or the whatever is happening in the world, as long as it's not too politically charged. And that really has a profound impact on people. But a lot of these have to be nuanced. They have to be nuanced. Realize this, and this is a psychological reality. We are all scared little children trying to get through life. And we all want to be guided and led, but we only want to be led by somebody we believe in our heart of hearts, with total integrity and authenticity, has our best interest at heart above and beyond theirs. If you understand that, you can master referral generation and leverage referral generation outside your business clientele at levels nobody else can. And it takes a long time to explain, but I'm just trying to get your mind understanding it. Over deliver, but you have to know what over deliver looks like, and you can't over deliver. And when you over deliver, it can't be just implicit. People don't always appreciate what you're doing differently unless you help them discriminate, and that is a very delicate educational and orientational process that has to be done with panache and aplomb so it doesn't sound arrogant and egotistical, but I will try to teach those of you how to do it, time allowing. Preemptive education means taking that which is typical for everybody you compete against, but which your clientele knows nothing about, and dimensionalize it and explain it and revere it in a way where you become seen as the only company that possibly does that, or the only professional that does that. Do events at other people's facilities as value added for them. Make them the hero. It doesn't matter. Short term, you make them the hero and they get more acknowledgement, more business, more referrals. Do you think they will want to do reciprocal to you? You're playing a long term, you're playing the long game, not the short game. One of my former colleagues had a service where he booked every month 4 presentations for chiropractors, and the chiropractors paid him $800 or $1,000 because they knew if they had 4 presentations to any kind of organization or group, they would get at least 1 or 2 clients, and that was worth $4,000 or $5,000 a year and referrals to them. Do things like that for other people. Reallocate your marketing dollars to those kind of applications and people to do those for other people, and you'll get a yield many, many, many times greater and many, many times more enduring than a diminishing ad that evaporates the moment that it runs, or a Instagram whatever message that's gone almost instantly. Get top chefs in your community doing culinary lessons, and doesn't really matter. Realize this: when you transcend the mere limitations of what you do, the world is your oyster as far as owning mind share of your market, of your clientele, because they are not just buyers of your product or service. They are human beings with the broadest spectrum of interests, needs, hopes, dreams, fears, goals, aspirations, all those things. Go to people and provide things that are great. Put a coffee maker in somebody's office and provide them with a coffee. It's pretty cheap. I mean, if you're spending thousands of dollars on cold ads and you know somebody's got a clientele of 1,000 and you're spending $50 a week giving them coffee and they love you for it, that's pretty interesting. Or cookies or lunch occasionally. I already told you, have a full-time referral CRO, or get a bunch of non-competitive businesses to pool your money and move it from your marketing budget. You'll get a higher ROI with that than you'll ever get from anything else. Go to complementary, generic type businesses and you be the idea. Most people don't have good ideas or don't have the ability to execute and actualize them. We used to always go to, I would have a client, it could be a financial service client, an accountant, a lawyer, and whatever they were, I would get them to organize really cool thematic events that they would invite the public to, but in actuality, they would also crisscross invite each other's clientele to. My client would orchestrate it, mastermind it. I would give them the copy approach. They wouldn't put any money in because they were the idea brains behind it. The others would be thrilled because they would all get value, but deep down we were getting access to implicit referrals from everybody else.
Okay, so to contribute, raise your hand and I will bring you on. So first we have Lynn.
Okay, hi Lynn.
Hi, Jay. So I'll just tell you, I've probably got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 starred points. It was just great. I just wrote as fast as I could write.
It doesn't matter if you're inhibited, if you're an introvert. It's fun. if you have any friends you enjoy in your personal life, just recalibrate your paradigm. You have dozens, hundreds, thousands of friends in your client base. Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.
Next.
Jay, next on the line, we have Gemma.
Gemma again. Hi.
Hi. I'm just, I'm struck by all of these options, and I know that I personally have a tendency to kind of dive into things. And so I'm just wondering, what kind of tracking do you
I'm not
recommend?
answering questions tonight. That's not the, I mean,
Got it.
my question, and I'm not trying to be a control freak, but I am. When I ask a certain thing, I want the answer to that question tonight. I will open my spigot to those people who contribute. If they don't contribute, I probably won't answer them, but you are contributing. Thank you. And I will be only too willing to answer the most clinical, the most transactional, the most you can seminal, whatever kind of question you want to ask when the time is right. But I ask a different question tonight, and I only want that answer. So, did you get anything out of this burst of perspective I just shared?
Well, I love the idea of identifying hobbies or interests outside of their work and trying to meet them in that area as well.
And I think you will find when you start doing that, with guidance that I will give you when you ask me questions, when it's Q&A time, that you will be able to make their lives more enriched for doing it. They will be very grateful, and their gratitude will reciprocate as long as they respect your competency. Thank you.
Jay, next in line, we have Marcelo.
Hi again, Marcel.
Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm good. Did you have an impact by that last session?
Yes, definitely. And one of the reasons I was running a little late to jump in is actually I was starting a new client in one of our locations, and he's a chef. And you just mentioned about contacting chefs and doing cooking classes for us. That would be phenomenal. So that's a big one. And actually started another 2 chefs this week. So
that's great.
There's
that's
a few
great.
possibilities there of combining.
I love that.
Recording the material and sharing. I think that would be amazing.
That's cool. Thank you. And by the way, playing off of that, you can go to your list and say, do any of you have any of these skill sets? Are you expert? Are you masterful? Are you very talented? Any of these things, and get your own clients to do it, and they'll love you even more.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next.
Next on the line, Jay, we have Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Hello, how are you?
I'm always pretty darn good. How are you?
Way to be, way to be. I'm well. Yeah.
Okay. So, did you get anything out of this?
Oh, of course, man. Of course. So I run marketing for a few different clients, specific clients now, and my one client has followed you for 40 years.
Wow, you're dating me. That makes me feel like an old fart.
Yeah, he's built his business off your
tell me he's successful.
Oh, he's the best in his field, no doubt.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So the things that I got out of it personally were certainly 2 big things was making the suppliers work for you better, and then the second thing was someone's suggestion of employees and having them go to bat to make sure that they find qualified people, but then have an incentive to keep them. I like those 2 things a lot. And then it's just come up a lot in various client meetings. I was in a different client today as well. And just referrals in general is great,
okay.
Man. So.
That's good. All I want is to get feedback. Thank you, Ben. Tell your client I'm proud of him.
He'd love that.
Thank you. Joseph?
Okay, next in line, we have Arturo.
Arturo again. It's interesting. We end up, and by the way, there is no shame in contributing, particularly when it's a collaborative process, And I will only just say that the dynamic that I want to give you is predicated on the expectation that everyone contributes. I may not take them all tonight, but if you don't want to contribute, it's okay. Just don't be offended if you don't get everything I've got to give you, because it's self-regulating and you have the regulator in your hand.
Hi.
Hello, Arturo.
Hi, Ben. My first insight is to reallocate marketing budgets to incentive referral systems. I mean, I find in my clients and in myself, investing in other media, advertising, of course, traditional advertising and the internet are the media that companies most allocate resources to. But referral systems do cost. They need people, they need money, they need time. So I find this very important. And after
that's very
this
insightful.
seminar,
That's great.
yes.
And you're right. But I mean, the point is, if you reallocate a portion, you'll know in a reasonable period of time. And I have never seen marketing money reallocated fail to produce, if it was executed right. If it's executed dumb, you're going to get a dumb result. But that's that. But hopefully, I'll be here to guide people on how to do these things. And if you want, and the people that are contributing, I'll definitely help. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next.
Jay, next in line, we have Jim Anderson.
Jim, how are you? I'm sorry. I was working on this today and I didn't have the focus to do you and your son a good job.
I can definitely understand, Jay. So this
Are
a
you
lot of
getting
work.
anything out of this?
What's that?
Are you gaining anything from this?
Oh yes. As always, boy, multiple things. I think one of the things I'm a physician. For those of you that don't know who I am, but I've really, gained insight into just understanding how much better a referred client is than one that isn't. Like you say, they take less work, they agree more, they're just less of a pain, if you will, sometimes, because you have so much more credibility with them. And along those lines, I think we could use a lot more referrals in our clinic. We are looking at better ways of getting more referrals. We get them, but we could definitely improve that. But I like this and that. It gives me the idea of possibly, because I feel like I do some of the digital marketing better than a lot of other doctors, but why not possibly help, I don't know, family doctors, for instance, promote their practice more. Kind of they would be on the headline, but somehow if I can
it'd be
reach
great.
out to them
Think
to
about
promote their business, but on the side, it would be getting more referrals back to me.
No, it works. That's great. Thank you very much. Very, very much. Joseph?
Okay, finally, we have Scott Bell.
Okay. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Jay.
Good. So did you get anything?
Yeah, I got two things. One is hosting events and making sure to invite, different types of companies and vendors to be a spoke on the wheel. And then the other one was doing training for other organizations if they don't have the capabilities or funds to do it.
And I can promise you do it right, they will love you, and particularly with your shiny whites. Thank you. Okay. All right. Guess what? For tonight, we are done, and I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I'll give you 3. One is think about one of the biggest problems with learning is you only retain about 9%. And that's assuming it's linear. The more nonlinear, the less you retain, because you're not in the here and now all the time. You're tripping out on interesting ideas that blow your mind a little bit, which probably happens more with my kind of a presentational style than most. I would like, for your benefit, not mine, for you to allocate, if you're not fatigued, an hour or so and try to write down everything you remember that you got out of this, because we're not, I don't know what I'm going to do with this after that. Number 2, I would like you to, look up online the definition of collaboration and look up the definition of contribution so that tomorrow, if I ask for feedback, those of you who did not might be inclined to do that, because you are creating the fuel for the output. Your input produces my output. And then if you want to have fun, go online and write and go, oh my God, Jay Abraham knows more things about referral generation and has a context of understanding that is so amazing and dimensional and unprecedented that I am humbled. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow night. Thank you.